So I'd like to introduce you to Julie Hamilton. Julie asked me to introduce her as Tim's mom, and as a mom, that just kind of got me going. So, Julie's son Tim was killed in a workplace accident. She's going to tell us about it. But since then, she has taken that incredible negative thing to make something positive, and she's become this tireless advocate for safety. She's trained as an educator, so she's used to speaking in front of groups. She's spoken to more than 250 groups. She's going to talk to us about Tim and how Tim's death affected their family. On a more positive note, Julie was recently awarded the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal for her work with the Children's Wish Foundation, because all her speaker fees go directly to the Children's Wish Foundation. So, without any further ado, Julie, we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning. It is morning, right? Yeah, good morning. Good. Thank you for inviting me here today. I really appreciate the fact that I'm speaking in this lovely downtown Toronto hotel, because it's not where I normally speak. Before we go any farther, take your phones out, tweet telling people you are hearing about missing Tim, and then turn them off. Okay? Okay. So this is where I normally work. Oil and gas, northern Alberta. I go across North America, I've been down to Texas. This, if you Google Cenovus, Christina Lake, this is a beautiful picture of this upgrader. Not green like that, bluey green. Anyway, this is the kind of site I go to. I'm usually there when it's the least attractive, in the middle of construction. But this particular site had 5,000 people working on it. That's when they were building it. Huge machinery, remarkable feat of engineering. And I get to go places that most people don't get to go. The oil industry is, well, bitumen is black and sticky and messy. The jobs they do are horrendously dangerous and very hard, and they do it in the very worst of conditions in the winter. The machines are huge, and they are everywhere. A few months ago, I was at a site just outside of Edmonton, had 21 cranes on it, okay? Huge. Like this truck that has 94 wheels. Yeah, it carries this kind of machine. And they even work at night because the days in northern Alberta are short in the winter. So to get to speak to you, the Scouts Canada group, here in a lovely downtown hotel without my steel-toed boots is a real treasure. And I love to talk about Tim. I love to talk about Tim and tell you about him. Today we're going to talk about safety, safety rules. No, I'm not going to talk about the rules because I don't know them. You know the rules already. We're going to talk about attitude and choices. Your attitude toward safety and your choices when it comes to safety. Let's start at the beginning. I had the perfect life. Fabulous husband, Bob. We've been married for 42 years. 2 perfect children. How many of you are parents? You have perfect children, don't you? Okay, my kids are just as perfect as yours. Suddenly, on November the 13th, 1997, our daughter Maggie was diagnosed with cancer, a brain tumor. 2 neurosurgeries, 6 weeks of radiation, a year of chemotherapy, more MRIs and minor operations and other operations and procedures. We lost track. In the middle of it, the Children's Wish Foundation granted her a wish, whatever wish she wanted. And her wish was a trip with Tim. So she went through the books, picking out a place where the two of them could do as much together as possible. And off we went to the Caribbean, and we had a ball. When we got home, we had an end of chemo party. We called it the Hot Damn and Hallelujah Party. We invited more people than the house could hold, and I sent Tim off to pick up wine glasses at the rental store. And he came back with the wine glasses and a summer job. I thought, well, I got my perfect life back. Maggie is clear of cancer, in remission. I got 2 healthy, happy kids. Life was good again. 3 months later, Tim was dead.
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
Sorry about that.
Tim wasn't a quitter. If Tim
Somersault.
LBC stands for the Lake Bonavista Crew. It was a name we sort of adopted just because most of us came from Lake Bonavista and spent most of our time there.
Was that your doing? That was when he had to dig the Aerostar out of the
This
mud?
is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
He was handsome.
I know, but it took him a while to figure that out.
Tim made me do that 7-hour detour so we could drive past Bobby Orr's house.
Oh, it's not a
Look at how badass you guys think you are.
I know, we were very proud.
Just every time we were together, we all just, the whole group of us, always just had a great time.
We were just on cloud 9, like just so happy, and he was so handsome. Like
This is a demonstration
so
of Flip for Mac.
Yeah, I was just smitten with him.
When you first met him, you thought, this guy's not the brightest bulb on the tree. But
I'm not really sure he had a fashion sense.
Tim was the guy that Friday night you could call him at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, let's go do this, and be like, yep, I'm on my way. Anytime. You want to drive 4,000 kilometers tomorrow? Sure, yep, I'll steal my dad's car. Like, just
This is a
anything,
demonstration of Flip for Mac.
Describe a big brother. He was everything. Some days he was a pain in the ass. Some days he was really great to have around. When I was 14, 15, I was diagnosed with cancer, a brain tumor. And Tim was just so supportive through everything.
Tim got the job with Fiesta Party Rentals, and they were hauling dishes.
This is a
and
demonstration
putting tents up
of Flip
and
for
ripping
Mac.
them down. And with Stampede Week, the kids knew it was going to be long hours. They knew that they would be working first thing in the morning, late into the night, and that didn't bother Tim at all. He was ready for the long hours and the hard work.
And he just had such a positive energy all the time that you just wanted to be around and hang out with.
Sue and I were at home, and we got a phone call from one
This
of
is a
Tim's
demonstration of Flip
one
for
of the
Mac.
LBC, saying there'd been an accident at the workplace, and Tim had been taken to the hospital.
A lot of what you hear is how big his personality was, and he was goofy and funny, but he was also like a brother.
We didn't know what hospital, so we started with the Rocky View, and then moved on to the Foothills.
He was very caring and sweet, and he always
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
We'd goof around, we'd get in trouble, and Julie, Tim's mom, would get mad at us. And Tim would occasionally kind of like storm out of the house, and I'd always hear her, as we're leaving, say, "I'm so mad at you, Tim, but I love you." She always parted ways with Tim by saying, "I love you," so that she knew her last words to him, no matter what, were, "I love you."
When we got to the Foothills, they told us that, yes, Tim was there.
This is a demonstration
They didn't
of
say
Flip for
anything
Mac.
other than please come with us. And they took us to this little room. Sat down. There had to be 10 LBC kids there. And it took a while. And then the doctor came in and said, "I'm sorry."
This is a demonstration
like the
of Flip for
glue.
Mac.
I don't think there was ever a dull moment when Tim was around.
So loyal, it was unbelievable.
He really brought that fun part into our lives, I think.
I just wish he could have seen everything. Everyone's getting married now. People are starting to have babies, and it would just be cool to see where Tim's at.
Never ever forget that guy.
This is a demonstration of Flip for Mac.
July the 9th, 1999. Tim was working for Fiesta Party Rentals. Fiesta had been hired by First Energy Corp, a large company in the oil and gas world. They don't do the drilling, they just move the money around. First Energy was having a private Stampede breakfast for their clients. So they had hired Fiesta to put up a tent, the large, the biggest one they do, the one with 8 center poles. It's almost as big as this room. They put up 7 poles. They knew that they had 1 more pole to put up. The boss, or the engineer for First Energy, and he was an engineer, said, "I know there's a hydro line up there, but boys, there shouldn't be a problem." So the boss said, "I'll stand back here while Tim and John, you go under the canvas and push that pole back, last pole up into position. I'll stand out here and let you know if you get too close to the power line." Well, the power arced. Tim was killed instantly, and John spent several weeks in the burn unit at the Foothills Hospital. Was Tim's death preventable? Of course it was. For 6 months, they talked about this event. For 6 months, they had meetings with minutes. Somebody took minutes. They talked about what food would be served, what booze would be available, what games the kids would play. But nobody measured the length of the pole. Nobody measured the clearance of the hydro line. They guessed at it. They used the word guesstimated. Nobody phoned to find out what the voltage was going through the wire. No one phoned to find out if they could have the power turned off just while they put the tent up. No one even bothered, even though they knew they'd be doing it after dark, no one organized any lighting. In the middle of the night, after Tim's body had been removed from the work site, First Energy made special arrangements, had the tent moved a few feet, and they held the party anyway the next morning. So when I talk to you about attitude, I know attitude. So what does Tim and the talks I normally do up in the oil world have to do with you? Everything. And I mean everything. Because you see, it doesn't matter what the message is. If I'm talking to roughnecks in the oil world, or to you in a downtown hotel, the message is always safety. And the message has to do everything with attitude. And where you place your attitude toward safety in your little pile of priorities. Pinball yesterday said, "Why is Scouts Canada better with you in it, you the individual?" Well, to me, it's your attitude on everything. And right now, we're focusing on safety attitude. I want you to do today to think, to multitask. I want you to think as leaders that you are. I want you to think from the perspective of the kids that you are leaders of, and as parents and adults worried about the kids in your life, whether they're neighbors or nephews and nieces that you love and care about. So when I talk about Tim and the oil and you, what do you have in common? You've got the same question. The same question to answer every day, 100 times a day. And that is, do you do your job the easy way? Make assumptions, cut corners, do it in a hurry, or do you do it the right way? Pinball talked about doing life right. I was so glad to hear him use that line, because this is this whole presentation in one slide. You get this, you got it. You don't get this, you listen really carefully. Nobody plans an accident. Have you ever dropped your cell phone? Ever spilt coffee? Spilt your cereal? You know when something starts to go off the track, you go to take a sip of coffee, and you know it's coming out the edges. You just feel it. But you can jump back. You still have no control where that coffee lands, or that cereal, or whatever else you're eating, or where that phone drops. You can try and kick it onto the carpet, but it might not work. When something starts to go off the rails, you are out of control. It's the law of physics and the grace of God. This guy did not mean to go off the road, but he was not doing it the right way. He was doing it the easy way. He was speeding just a little bit. And when he tumbled, he not only rolled sideways, he's this way, ass over tea kettle. So he's doing cartwheels along the side of the highway and landed here. He had no control where he landed, none. Yeah. He had no control, and either did these fellas. Once things started to go off the rails, they started and they went big time off the rails. And you're thinking to yourself, holy smokes, nothing's going to happen here. I mean, we're talking scouts, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at something a little closer to home. Strike Anywhere matches. 30 years ago, Bob and I used to go up to this family cottage that had a propane stove. Strike Anywhere matches, that's what we used to start it with. So I knew we needed some more. I took some matches, tossed them in my purse when we went grocery shopping, okay, to remind myself to buy more. I get to the grocery store, I'm fumbling around for something, I open up my purse, and what do I see? Yeah, I got a fire inside my purse. Yeah. So I drop it, I'm stamping on this purse, I got the fire out. But my safety awareness of those matches were non-existent. I had not stopped to think at all about what could have happened. What if I had tossed my purse into the back of the car? That would have been a surprise in the rearview mirror. What if I had tossed it into the cupboard when I got home and gone to bed with the whole family in this little cottage that was 80 years old at the time, tinder dry? Jamboree 83. Any of you there? We're okay. All right. All right. I wasn't at the Jamboree, but I was just down the road, okay? Now this, I can't get over that this happened. The fact that I ended up talking to a flight attendant the week after the Jamboree. And here's what she told me. They are flying from Toronto, or from Calgary, back to Toronto. It's an airplane full of Boy Scouts. A leader goes up to her and says, "We got a problem. I just found out that one of the boys took the fuel from a camp stove with all those red markings on it and put it in his canteen. Yeah. And it is now in the luggage compartment of the plane. So you think that they lost 13, 17 guys in the Gulf? You got over 200 people on that plane. So she went up immediately and talked to the pilot. The pilot radioed to whoever. They had a discussion, and their choices were either land in Winnipeg or land in Toronto, continue and land in Toronto. They decided to continue and land in Toronto because Toronto had more emergency fire equipment and more hospital beds. So the lesson today is stop and think before you do anything. Keep your wits about you. Keep your wits about you. The potential impact of safety on some of the things that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis, astounding. I mean, who knew you had to say to your cubs, don't pack kerosene? Easy or right? Do you remember being 8, 12, 16, 17 or 18? Tim was a good kid. You would have liked him. He had a great attitude toward life, and he had a really good work ethic. When he was just a little guy, he had a lemonade stand. Now, we lived on a really quiet little crescent. Nobody came down our street. He got tired of waiting for cars, so he put his lemonade stand on a wagon, and he took it door to door. Now, part of me is mortified that my kid is going out begging for dimes. But part of me is going, yes, because I knew he'd figured it out already, that if you wanted something to happen in life, you had to make it happen. At 5, he said, Mom, I want a new transformer. And I said, I'm sorry, honey, Mama's out of money. So he had his own garage sale. He sold old toys, some of them were Maggie's, and anything else that wasn't nailed down in the basement. But on one Saturday morning, he made $61. And then he packed up when he had that much and said, that's enough. Okay, now we're going to Toys R Us. He bought himself and his sister a toy. So here is this bright kid, loving, charitable, everything you want in a son. How does he end up killed in an accident? Well, to me, it's like dominoes. Every single solitary question that was asked for months, the answers weren't on a safe, they didn't go towards safety. They went towards speed and expedience. If the 9th of July, somebody hit one domino and they all fell. And Tim was the kid at the end of the line. So how do you stop the dominoes? You got to be a team. You got to be the team. You leaders have to work as a team. It's easy or it's right. That's your choice. You got to share resources. Now, I looked up safety on the internet. There are 700 million hits. Whew. Read them all and then pick out the best, okay? So share the good ones. The Scout website is fabulous. You've got some great material on all kinds of subjects in there. BC and Australia. But I put graphic under Australia because I want you to know some of their displays or videos are a tad on the graphic side. So take a look, check out before you show it to some of the younger guys, younger kids. And the Canadian Centre for Occupational Health and Safety has oodles on young workers and how to help them and deal with them. I have also on my web page started added, just for you people, and I'm going to leave it up, under the workplace safety, a couple of things. Number one, you should make sure that your kids that you deal with, and especially the ones you love, have the kids' help phone number written in magic marker, permanent magic marker, in their closet, on the wall. And then as soon as they start to work, the phone number for your province, for OH&S, so that if they have questions, they've got it. And as soon as your kids are old enough to go out for work, you know they've got a cell phone. So you watch them program that number into that cell phone, so they've always got it with them. I also have added an 11-point document to help you walk kids through how much they should know about the work world when they first get there, to prepare them just a tad. Then take all that information and pass it on at parent meetings. You must have parent meetings. I'm sure some of them are more receptive than others, but you got to try your hardest, and this is how you do it. On your way out, you will be given a sticker. Now, the guys in the oil business put them on their hats and on their phones. You can put it anywhere you want, over the kitchen sink, but it's yours. There are also pamphlets that they'll be able to give you as well, if anybody's interested in those. Now, today, other than that stuff, I want you to just read on your own. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 3 tools to help with making your world safe with your kids. These tools make it easier to step up and talk about safety. Number 1, what do you say? Okay, you're a 16-year-old kid. You walk into a job and you have no idea what to say to that guy that you know is not paying attention to what he's doing. I went across the country with CP Rail. We're in northern Saskatchewan. The safety guy I'm with gets a phone call. Someone in Moose Jaw has been taken to the hospital because of a back injury. Did he do anything wrong? No. He walked into the yard, rail yard, and he did his job. He saw an extension ladder over there that he knew belonged over there. So he walked over, picked it up, and walked across the yard. Now, it was an uneven yard. And this big, burly guy who knew what he was doing stepped on something that twisted his ankle, weight shifted, down he goes. A week off work, could be a lifetime of back injuries. But he was doing his job, just like you do at all your Scouts events. You get up, you do your thing. Maybe you're taking boxes from the car into the meeting room. Maybe you're hiking and you've got the heaviest backpack. Whatever it is, you're doing it, talking to the other leaders, talking to the kids, not paying attention. If someone sees you working on automatic, and that's what it is, all they've got to do is say, here, let me help you with that. If you see somebody working on automatic, here, let me help you with that. Just to tweak them back to paying attention to what they're doing. Not hard and not insulting. Because all jobs can end up a two-man job. Kids don't necessarily work on automatic, because they're always working on automatic, but they are also clowning around. If you see them clowning around on something that needs more attention, here, let me help you with that. There's all kinds of activities that you do that they are using sharp objects. They're out in water, camping, using electrical mixers, teaching them how to cook. Whatever it is, you got to make sure that they are staying focused. Number 2, what's the number 1 question kids ask? Yes. And number 2 is, are we there yet? But why do they ask why? because why leads to understanding. This is a slide from an oil servicing company. I love this slide. For those of you that aren't familiar with the wrench, it has, well, there are lots of people who aren't. A wrench has two ends, a closed end and an open end. Well, the boss said to this new kid, young worker, take this wrench and connect those two hoses. The kid went and connected them. But nobody told him to use the open end. No one told him why he shouldn't use the closed end. You've got to make sure that when you are explaining something to young people, that you tell them why. Turn it around. Say, why are we doing it this way? Is there a better way? Let them figure it out. Walk them through it. Because sometimes the right way and the wrong way are very subtle differences. Very subtle. But you've got to explain why. Then they'll buy in. There are lots of things, from using bungee cords to using suntan lotion. You got to explain why. And number 3 is the stupid question. We all know, we have said to them a million times, there is no such thing as a stupid question. I have news for you. Yes, there is. When I was a teenager, I thought everything that came out of my mouth was stupid. Every question I asked, everybody else knew the answer to before I did. I was a lifeguard. My first year as a lifeguard, I was a junior guard, an LIT, a lifeguard in training. A sign went up on the staff room wall, guards party. Well, I really wanted to go because, you see, Floyd was a senior guard, and I really wanted to make a move. A lot easier at a party than just hanging around the pool. But I didn't know if I was invited to the party. Well, I couldn't go to the boss and say, can I go to the party to hit on Floyd? That would be a stupid question. So I went to my friend Heather and said, what do you think? She said, I don't know, I'll go ask. I'm thinking, oh. She's going to say, can Julie go to the party, make her move? Anyway, Heather was smarter than I was, clearly, because she went to the boss and said, are junior guards eligible to go to the party? Well, I've used that trick a million times as an adult. Take the onus off the person and put it on the job. Are junior guards eligible to go to the party? Teach that trick. To ask questions without the words me or I to the young people in your life. Start off easy. Excuse me, pass the ketchup, please. Okay. Move on to, excuse me, are there requirements to apply for a loan at this bank? And then move on to the really tough questions. Excuse me, are there safety issues to be talked about before this job gets done? No me, no I. So those are your 3 tools. Here, let me help you with that. Making sure they can answer why, and asking questions without me or I. Those are 3 skills that you can teach your scouts. You can teach the people in your life. Easy or right. This is Tim's 18th birthday. The LBC came over, they brought the toys, we brought the beer. These kids did everything together. They ran in herds, really, from refrigerator to refrigerator. They even graduated together, and believe me, there were days we wondered if that was ever gonna happen. Tim and Alyssa, they had been dating for 3 years when Tim was killed. A year after Tim's death, Alyssa's sister wrote me a letter. The letter said, Alyssa used to have a sparkle in her eye, and now the sparkle's gone and an emptiness replaces it. I miss Tim, and I miss my sister. When somebody is hurt or killed on the job, it's like the pebble in the pond. It goes on and on and on. Our first Christmas, I was terrified. I thought, how do you celebrate the biggest family holiday in the Christian world with such a huge hole in your family? And I don't care if you are Muslim, Jewish, Christian, whatever it is, those big family days, that hole is ever present. Someone suggested that we invite over the LBC and ask them each to bring something to hang on the tree that would remind us of Tim. So a couple of weeks before Christmas, I made a big pot of stew and the kids all came over, and even some of the parents. They brought a lot of plastic food items. Alyssa brought a corsage that Tim had given her and put it in a clear plastic ball. One of the boys went up to Fortress Mountain where they used to ski, and he hiked up the hill and took a branch off one of the evergreen trees and put a red ribbon on it. The needles have fallen from it now, but the stick and the red ribbon still hang on our tree. One of the guys brought a bunch of G.I. Joes. He melted them. I can tell you all understand. As a mom, I'm not quite sure, okay? But those melted G.I. Joes hang on the tree. The year before Tim was killed, he and Tony went to Ontario, decided that they were old enough at 17 to do this. So Tony's family, parents, and Bob and I talked and said, okay, we'll let them do this. So they drove across the country to visit family in cottage country. They had a wonderful time. But he brought an air freshener. To him, it signified 2 teenage boys living in a car for 3 weeks. So we have a picture of a naked babe hanging on our Christmas tree. I love those kids. I treasure those ornaments. I do. But Christmas for me is not the worst weekend of the year. Surprisingly enough, and this really surprised me, because I thought Christmas was going to be the worst. Nope. May 24th, by a long shot. Because May 24th is the first time all you young people go out camping. And I go through the grocery stores the week before, and I see these young kids trying to figure out what they can buy to eat on their trip. Spend the least amount of money on food so they have the most amount of money left for beer. And I think of Tim. You've all been there. Yep, they would go camping May 24th. Mine's the one in the middle. I love that picture. But it's not the only day, Christmas and 24th of May. Canada Day. Now in Calgary, there's a road you drive down to get to the fireworks, and there's one everywhere you go. And there's always some group of kids with their shirts off and they painted C-A-N-A-D-A on their chest, right? Tim was an A, middle of the pack. Northern Lights. He knew I loved them, and fireworks. And he would wake me up if he saw the Northern Lights were out. It doesn't even have to be something that Tim and I connected on. A few years ago, my brother John, who lives here in Ontario, drove out in his camper with his wife to visit us in the middle of the summer. They arrive in the middle of the day, and John and Joanne and I are in the backyard having a beer, waiting for Maggie and Bob to come from their jobs. So we're laughing, talking about old times, telling stories, yucking it up. Maggie comes in. Now, she loves Uncle John. Uncle John's got a great sense of humor. But she disappears. I think, bizarre. I found her in her room, sobbing. She said, "Mom, I can't listen to you and Uncle John talk about old times and laugh at old stories. It just reminds me I'm not going to get to do that with Tim." I didn't even see that one coming. A couple of months later, John phones, all excited and proud as a peacock. He's a new grandfather. The first of the next generation has been born. And she's pink and she's beautiful and her name is Brooke. And again, Maggie's reaction is, "I'm so glad everybody's healthy and happy and everything's okay. But it's one more phone call I'm not going to get from my brother." Tim did everything he could to help Maggie deal with going through cancer. And he was fabulous about it. We tried to find things that he could do so he could feel as if he was helping her. And he did. He did. But one of the reasons I talk about Maggie's cancer and Tim's death is because I recognize that after Maggie was declared in remission, I took a breath and thought, "Phew, we've made it. We've made it the worst that could happen, and we've made it." Okay? I thought that big bucket of bad stuff for us was full, that our family had been through it, that it couldn't get any worse. What I learned when Tim was killed is that bad luck bucket doesn't have a bottom. You can have a minor accident now, and 3 minutes later have another, and 3 minutes later have another. And they can get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It doesn't stop until your attitude, your behavior changes. Our family isn't any different to your family. Everybody has the same photos in their album. Everybody has a bath photo, a toy gun, shoot your baby sister photo, the pet photo. Now, it might not be bunnies, it might be rabbits, dogs, horses, llamas, hedgehogs. But every family is the same. We are no different to you. The night that Tim was killed, friends picked Maggie up and brought her to the hospital for us. The first words out of her mouth, "Mom, did Tim die because I didn't?" No, Tim didn't die because she didn't. Tim died because somebody chose easy over right. That is the only reason Tim is dead. The only reason Tim is dead. I got to tell you, I am so tired of watching my family hurt because it does not stop. I can tell you that there is a magic in my life that is gone. I can't tell you the last time I had a belly laugh, one of those really deep belly laughs. I can have good days. I have really good days. But I don't have belly laughs. It doesn't matter if it's a family birthday, special day. Maggie's graduation. After Maggie finished college, and believe me, after 2 neurosurgeries to finish college, whoa, all right, bright girl. She's doing okay. So Bob and I decided to take her out to a really fancy restaurant, one with tablecloths. So Bob phones and makes a reservation for 3. Maggie and I get on our best clothes. We go out to this restaurant. We arrive, and the maitre d' takes us to a table of 4. And as we get settled, he removes that 4th place setting. It doesn't stop. I worry about Bob. Bob's a great guy. And like all parents, you have a special relationship with each child. These 2 had a great time. Lots of fun and lots of laughter. Not always laughter. They did hiking and camping together. They're going down the Clearwater River in northern Alberta here. Tim found moose antlers. That's what he's got on his head. They had a great time. These 2 were really building this wonderful relationship when Tim was killed. Now, Bob and I will be sitting watching TV, and I will recognize that he is facing the TV, but he is not paying attention. He's not connected. I know where his head is, but I can't take that pain away. Maggie's wedding. We had a fabulous day. She married a really great guy. We get the pictures back, though, and look at the hole right behind her. Isn't that where Tim should have been? It's the first thought that hit me when I looked at this photo. She has 2 kids now, William Timothy and Kendra, and they're funny little munchkins. But when Bob and I first held those babies, you couldn't help but think, I wonder what Tim's kids would have been like, and all the opportunities that are missed. This is my favorite picture of Tim and I. I know, as the mom, I'm supposed to be doing the loving and the protecting and the hugging. But in this picture, I feel loved and hugged and protected. You know, when your kids were just born, sometime, usually in the first 24 hours, maybe 48, you took that baby, usually in the middle of the night, and you opened up that little hand and you measured it against yours. Right? When Tim was born, his hand was a little bigger than the palm of mine. And as he grew up, I would go in to check on him like moms do. And if his hands were out of the blankets, I would measure my hand against his. Just before he was killed, I measured my hand. My hand was a bit bigger than the palm of his. I remember the reach of the fingers, the fingernails, the shape, the grip, the calluses. Now I find myself sitting. I'll be at home and I will find myself sitting, and it's like I'm waiting for something and I don't know what I'm waiting for. I know there is this hole in front of me, this big, huge black hole. There is no bottom to it, and there's no edge to hang on to, and I'm afraid to fall in. At night when I go to sleep, I have to read until the book falls out of my hands. Because if I just close my eyes, all I see is my son on that gurney. It has been 15 years, 7 months, and 21 days since Tim was killed. And I miss him every day. People say to me, how can you possibly get up and give that presentation? Well, that answer is easy. It's drugs. I take my Prozac every morning. That's why I need my coffee. And yes, I've had people say, don't worry, dear, you'll get off the drugs. No, I won't. Don't worry about it. I'm okay. I've tried. I end up under the bed. This works. Why do I do this presentation? Not just to tell you a sad story, because that doesn't bring Tim back. I want you mad at anybody who picks easy over right. I want you to walk through life looking at every task being done, whether it's on your scout group territory or at work or at home. Look at every task that's being done, and you say to yourself, would I want someone I love to do that job in that manner? And if the answer is no, you change it. I want to thank you for letting me talk about Tim. Because when I talk about Tim like this, and I got to tell you, watching all of you yesterday cheering away with pinball, I saw Tim in so many of you. It's so much, it brings joy to me to be able to talk to you about Tim. Because I feel as if I'm tucking him in, letting him hear me tell you how wonderful Bob and I thought he was, how good his decisions were most of the time, the friends he chose, the priorities he had, and how his sister cherished him. There are 3 images I want you to take away with you today, okay? First image, little bald girl. And on the little side of that little bald head, you've taken washable magic markers, because this is what we did to the kids in the cancer ward. We drew on their heads. You've drawn the Scout Canada logo to remind you to never take anything for granted. Second image, teenage boy and a teenage girl, Heather and Floyd. And I want you to go home and around the kitchen table, teach the young people in your life and around your Scout Council. Teach the young people in your life how to ask a question without me or I. And the third image is Tim. I want you to remember this young man. How this bright, funny, loving young man who is just learning how to put all the bits and pieces in line to become a man. How he had his life taken away. And don't let this happen to anybody that you work with. And then I want you to go home, find the people that you love, tell them that you love them, and give them a hug. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know how to do a proper thank you for that.
Oh.
I guess I just want to say thank you for sharing a story with us that many of us can't even begin to comprehend. And thank you for helping us understand everything you've learned and everything that we need to do with the responsibility we have to keep young people and ourselves safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I get a hug.